Pete, what's the
Yes, sir.
deal?
Tell me, sir.
Yeah, your room. So yeah, once you get the egg crate, that'll help your room in the bounce back
I
behind
thought we
the.
weren't doing the show right now. I had my hand on the doorknob to go to Lowe's because I went to Target earlier and they don't sell those things because I was going to get that, divider deal
Yeah,
and wrap it and then put the crate on that.
yeah.
They didn't have it.
Um. So what you know about Crippin, Pete?
In
Now I
what
know that seems
context?
like a vague
Yeah,
question, right? But
a little
what
bit.
honestly do you feel you know about Crippin?
In what, I mean, like when I say in what context, I mean, to try
Just
to
just
be as time sensitive as possible with the answer.
well just run down the things you feel you know about Crippin.
At this point in time now, over the years, because that kind of has changed. Like the first time I really was around Crips a lot was in Phoenix, obviously.
Sure.
Like
They got some serious Crip gangs down there. They ain't playing.
they do, but it's a lot different culture.
Sure.
Um,
It's Crippin mixed with Arizona culture. So then Arizona has its
yeah,
own urban culture, and then they mix it. But that's every state in the country. They take their
for
in
sure.
city. You know what I mean? So you'll
It's
see.
kind of like there happens to be gangs and they happen to be called Crips there. Is how I would kind of more describe it.
Well,
Though it's more West
I
Coast. Like, that's maybe
genuinely
like I would say like if you were in Memphis, like that might be
I
more
genuinely
accurate
think
there.
they're all Crips. Like that's the thing. It's just again their culture from where they're from tied into Crippin. So what
Mm.
exactly? I mean, obviously Crips, right? They wear blue, right? Or Crips say cuz. What
Yeah, the cuz, the
exactly?
spellings, the bang to the left side, all the stuff, the blue and everything like that. The I know that in LA, you kind of at least on the west side, generally you got your neighborhoods and your gangsters. And in theory, you would assume that Crips are gonna bang against Bloods all the time, but that it's not really
Sure.
how it plays out in reality, in real life. It's much more practical. Um, Other than that, I would assume it's just kind of like, hey, look, you made a decision to be a part of this. You in it now. You're gonna be in it here. You're gonna probably get locked up. It's gonna help you out when you're there. It's gonna help you out when you're here. Don't fuck around. It's kind of like maybe a lessly rigid mafia, or the way the mafia turned out to be. Probably in real time, by the time the mafia got into the 80s, when Crippin really got started, they were probably both about fairly similar. You had dudes that were ratting in the mafia, guys who were snitching and Crippin, and whatever else. And people might have switched families. I know what's his name switched families. Sammy the Bull, I think it was. So,
So Crippin started in '69,
mhm,
right? It's credited to two brothers, Craig Craddock and the most famous and credited brother is Raymond Washington. So they grew up in what area would be considered East Coast, like 76 Wadsworth.
okay,
Um, they expanded to the west side in 71, 72, 71. So that's how Tookie and all of the rest of the West Side Crips got involved. So that became spreading, right? Um,
when did it when it started? Was it just we're the Crips? And when did it become like East Coast Crips or Broadways or Main Streets, whoever's like right over there? When did it start becoming like franchised, so to speak?
72, 73.
Okay,
People started kind of breaking off, doing their own little thing. Yet it wasn't as bad, but they started breaking off. I think it's 72, 73. Because
gotcha.
remember, you have East Side Crips, right? And then you have West Side Crips. So
Mm,
immediately that's the first break. And then Inglewood Crips came into play, and then Compton Crips came into play. So it was always Linwood Crips, the Pominoaks. So it kind of already was separated. You know what I mean? And then they start breaking down into even smaller factions, obviously, which is how you got A Trays, different gangs.
gotcha.
So
In the 70s, like now, the last many years, as long as I've been able to really be like in LA like that's over a decade and a half probably. If there's a palpable difference between the East Side and the West Side, just being there.
So economic, it's mostly stemming from economics.
For sure. I mean, and also I think, well, and economics does affect that, or it is affected by economics, but like some of those areas were actually physically constructed in different decades.
Sure, yeah. As far as, not really.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
yeah. But I
yeah,
don't think that had nothing to do with. They were both all constructed, both East Side and West Side, as far as where gangs were constructed before Crips became a thing.
for sure, for sure.
So the
But I
houses
like,
were built by '69.
yeah, oh yeah.
So
But by the time that like, it's like in '71 per se, was it as dramatic of a landscape change, like, or difference rather, culturally, as it is now? Has it gotten magnified, or is it about always been the same?
this has always been the same.
All right.
The East Side is just, it's just different. The poverty is different. You know what? We were allowed. It was kind of made for us to be there earlier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the projects wasn't made for black people. Black people just got into the projects. Obviously, you know the history because
there's some interesting stories about that. Like the story of Dogtown projects.
Sure.
How so many black people rushed into the projects initially. It's in South LA, basically Pueblos down, and Dogtown was kind of the first one that wasn't deep, like were the pink projects way up there that they just tore down.
Mm-hmm.
And the city actually said, we're not going to allow black people in these projects.
Yeah.
It's just like, which was to me was like, that's wild.
Yeah, but again, it's
before the civil rights law was passed.
And also housing projects were built based around military and as a housing place for military and shit like that. But we kind of getting lost.
Yeah,
The reason I was asking is right now on the internet, there's this guy. He's like a cultural sensation. His name is C-Mac, Crip Mac. Baby C-Mac. So that means he's the third C-Mac of those guys, right? So you have Big, Little. So Big is the first, Little is the second, Baby is the third, Tiny. So if it's a tiny C-Mac, that's the fourth. Okay. Infant is the fifth C-Mac, which would be the fifth version of whoever that name is. And they call the sixth one, some people call him embryo and some people say six. So it's a guy named Hoover. He calls himself Jap 6 because he's the sixth version of Jap.
Gotcha.
Right. So there's a guy, his name is Baby C-Mac, Crip Mac. And he's from a gang called Rolling 50s, Neighborhood 55 Crip, 55th.
And that's a real small gang on the west side, right?
Well, yeah, because those gangs, right, so it's a few of them, right, in that section. But they very much are a power gang. They're not smarter, but they're really like, they've been representing their own section and holding it down. Like they're fourth. Sure. They're not just you're not gonna push those guys over. They do their stuff.
Yeah. But like
part of that community.
The physical geography is not very large, though.
No,
right?
It's not. Yeah, it's not huge. It's 55th Street, a couple of streets right there. So people got a bar of him on the internet and the way, culturally he spoke, the way the 55th Street niggas speak, changing every number into 5 and anything that feels like 5 as a word, they change it into a 5. So instead of saying, I'll give this to you, they say, I'll give this 5 you. So instead of 2, they'll say 5.
Okay. I thought they would change give to 5 and say, I'll 5 this to you.
Right. So
I was wrong. That's why I'm not part of the game.
So instead of saying you feel me, they'll say you 5 me. Right. Instead of saying nigga, they say nickel. Anyway, it's just a complete cultural thing, this community, like all of our communities have. And so
Is
he
that are they a gangster crip or are they just
their
like on
neighborhood,
their
their
own?
neighborhood
Are
crip.
they neighborhood?
And so
Gotcha.
any pretty much every gang that's a rolling gang
Oh,
outside
you
of the
said Roland. I
30s,
forgot. I didn't hear
yeah,
that part.
pretty much every gang outside of the 30s that are a rolling gang are neighborhood gangs for the most part. I mean,
Gotcha.
I can't stand by, but I know for sure the 30s are not a neighborhood gang; they're a rolling gang still. So, long story short, he takes the internet by storm. Right? He's super super culturally phenomenal. You know, you hear him talk, his get down, you know, and you could tell like, you know, he's been a part of the culture. Well, recently, um, things from his past started to come to forward. Some things he was doing when he was younger, and they aren't very cool things to do, right? As a gang member, right? Snitching is the worst thing you could do, right? That's for sure. As any criminal, snitching is the worst thing you could do. The second thing that's pretty crappy is being a set hop,
Okay.
like being from one set and then joining another set. That's like actually really, at least when I grew up, it was whack. Like that was the worst thing you want to be. You know what I mean? And it would always be hard for you to have that same respect when I came into the game to be a set hop. Like you just really never would get the same respect. And those guys really have to go through a lot. You know what I mean? Um, Long story short, these things come from his past, and I don't know quite if he made his homies aware as a whole of what his past was. But
Okay.
Arrival and different people from different communities started making his past, you know, present to where everybody would know what was going on. And Mac, you know, I met Mac. He's a good dude, cool dude. And he's explaining himself on the internet. He's like, yo, this is what happened. And the explanations are like, you know, they're authentic to his experience, but they do sound crazy where it's like, damn. Long story short, so either between the fact that he was from another gang, whatever the reasons were, the shame itself resulted in his homies DPing, what we call DPing him, disciplining him. DP stands for discipline, right? He has a video camera, and this is kind of my only concern from his perspective because I really like him. My concern from his perspective, right, as an entertainer and as a content creator, is some of this shit you have to kind of leave in the streets.
Mm.
Right? You can't bring every last thing. And he's on camera on his way to his neighborhood to get what we call a discipline. Shows up, no footage. When he's leaving, he's back on camera. Now you could tell he's been in a fight, you know,
Yeah.
severely. Like he's been in a real fight. And he's explaining the things to the fans or who we would call his fans at that point. And I'm just listening to the whole thing as it's happening. Like, wow, like I wish he would have kept this off the net. Now,
In the
what I
sense that it's
wanted to,
bad for his career and optics that way, or in what?
well, I think it's great for his career,
Okay.
but it's bad for his community relations as far as a gang member, in my book.
Gotcha. I didn't know which side you thought it was bad for before, like on the street
No,
side
no,
or
it's,
on
it's
the
great. It's great to
PR
endear
side.
yourself to the general public,
Okay.
but
And you think that did that?
well, I think that was the first problem. Now I can't. Again, I'm not in the mix, so I don't know why his homie said, "Hey, you need to come over here and run yours." I don't know, but what I can say is, I don't know if his homies disciplined him if they were aware of this information.
Okay.
So I would like to believe his homies weren't aware of this information, and that's hence why the discipline procedures were called into effect. Um,
Do you have a
Now,
history of that?
Like
Not
I
being
didn't.
disciplined, but have you had to actively discipline people from your set over the years,
Yeah,
or not really in your neighborhood?
once or twice.
Yeah,
Um, and this is what I want to talk to you about. This is where it gets crazy, right? Because all of this kind of cultural stuff really don't have relevance to you, but this is where it can, and this is where things come together at. So there's two things I want to talk about with you when it came to Crippin in general, right? The first thing is how he explained how the DP went, right? He was saying he was so good with his hands. The first 3 or 4 guys that was disciplining him, he was, I guess, getting the better of him, right? So now I'm not gonna pretty much tell the general public, you know, I was getting the better of my homie in a discipline or any situation, right? I probably wouldn't tell my homies I'm getting the better of my friends in the discipline situation, right? Because that's private information for me and my community,
yeah.
right? Um, but he's explaining it and he's saying 10 or more people was a part of the discipline. That's not cool. Like if 10 of or more of your homies are assaulting you, I've talked to a couple OGs from the east side, west side, different gangs, and I realized I wasn't crazy. I don't know how much of friends we are because real gangbang is rooted, and this is my second point. Real gangbanging is rooted in shared experiences with people you grew up with, right?
Yeah.
And it brings me to my next point, which was when somebody's a foreigner to your soil. We've talked about this. It's a really popular thing going on right now where people are driving 20 to 80 miles to join a gang in someone else's community that they didn't grow up in. So those two things stuck out to me with this whole particular situation.
Yeah.
Is one, how many people was involved with the discipline, with the assault,
And to be clear, you're saying that in that he's coming on the internet and saying, I'm harder than everybody from my hood. It took him 10. Or no.
it, it
It
definitely can
kind of
have
sounds
that
that way.
it definitely can have that feel. It's not far to have that feel. I mean, it definitely could have that feel. Now, I don't quite know if that's what I got from it, but it does have a
It has a
weird
save
feel.
face kind of spin.
And I don't know if it's even save face, but my issue is the fact when he said 10 or more,
Yeah.
right? And right after he said this, immediately a video comes out that's not flattering to who he is, right? So I think again, the internet is affecting the corner. Like it's got to be a different level of embarrassment. It has to be a different level of pressure to
Yeah.
keep your reputation, solid. But like I said, the 10 or more people disciplining you, that's a lot. I don't think even when I was so this is my thing, right? And again, it goes to my second point. I wasn't the greatest gang member. I didn't think I would even be good at gang banging, dog, at Crippin. I didn't think I would be good at it because it seems like the people involved at times, they not all the way there. That's how it seems. And
Mm.
it's crazy because some of the people I know that are the most intelligent and brightest people are guys that I either watch, I grew up under or guys I grew up with. It's some really smart, intelligent people in the culture, right?
When you
So
say not all the way there, just so we're clear, how do you mean?
like the driveway don't go all the way to the garage.
I know the reference, but do you mean like it's because people are high or because they're just caught up in the moment, clouding the judgment, or like how are you saying?
So the thing about gangbanging, right, and cripping, it's very accepting to anyone. It's harder to be a Boy Scout than it is to be a Crip. it's harder to be a Boy Scout than it is to be a Crip.
Gotcha.
Like gangbanging is a very accepting culture. It will accept society's frowned upon, you know, with open arms and make a place for you to thrive and have friends and family and respect and all of these different concepts, to be successful at something. But I wasn't the greatest Crip growing up. Like I got courted on probably 2 days before my 16th birthday. I just didn't really the niggas that courted me on, right? They were niggas I've been knowing since I was a little kid. We probably was 4 or 5 years old. They're a couple years older than me. But again, I didn't think I would be good at it. I didn't realize I would be good at it until I went to jail. That's when I knew I was going to be just fine. But whenever I would have moments that weren't flattering to Crippin or being a gangster, my homies didn't beat me up over it, right? They would take me and explain to me, hey man, this is how you got to do it. Like I remember Moon, my older homie Moon, explaining to me why I had to fight people that was from the hood. I remember Pluck explaining to me why I had to shoot some people, making very logical sense. I remember different things where they, Shady, them bringing the best man out of me if I was going to survive in the culture, right? Bringing the greatest man out of me. They didn't kick my ass because I got it wrong. Long as I had the basic bare minimums together. Do not tell the police on somebody else's. Don't implicate someone into a crime. Don't inform the police on what you know about crimes. So things you know before you get involved. So again, I think like even in that situation, it probably wasn't as bad as what happened, but it goes back to that second point. Someone's a foreigner to the soil. And I think the reason Moon and them did me a certain way and treated me like that is I've been seeing Moon since I was 4 years old, driving by. I've been seeing Plug since I was 5 or 6 years old, Shady since 7 years old. My homies that are, my generation, they came and we played in the yard together. We played basketball on the street. I would say what's up to them when I'm walking to the store. We knew each other since kids. The guys that are young now, this new generation, some of them were the first babies I ever held, infant. Like my little homeboy, Watch Boy, son Troy is the second kid, the second out of the womb kid I've ever held in my life. So even right now, if me and Watch Boy disagree, that's my little man, cuz that is my guy. Now, this nigga a grown ass Crip. 25, 26, 27, children, then did everything he needed to do to get his respect. But no matter how I see him as this little baby I held, this little dude I bought stuff from off the ice cream truck for. So the bond in the pain in my heart when something happens to him is different. You know what I mean? It's a real, that's really my little brother. That's really my little nigga. Feel me? No matter what, whether we disagree or not. And I would hope he has the same bond. Like Glasses is really my guy. Like we have the same bond for each other. But I think it's because we really grew up together.
Yeah.
When you listen to C-Mac as he tells this story specifically, he's explaining, living in Chino Hills, somewhere to about 18, 19, 20. When he became from 60s. Somewhere after that, he moved to Texas. Somewhere after that, he was in Vegas. Right? So we're talking about a guy.
I said, yeah, he looked kind of olderish.
Yeah. And I think he looks older because of his habits, you know what I'm saying? Like his health habits, like drinking or I don't know, because I don't know what cuz do. I know he drank Old English, and I know for sure Old English aged your ass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, olderish is a relative term. I didn't mean he looks like he's 50. I mean, he's not.
I think he's a lot closer to turning 30 than turning 40.
Yeah. But like for a guy whose like rap career is kind of young, like a lot of guys whose rap careers are kind of young, can be themselves kind of young, like
Yeah.
20. You know,
Yeah,
he's
so
not
I
20.
think Mac is probably anywhere between 28 and 30, right?
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, I think that's the problem, and I think that's what's wrong with gang banging and cripping now is the reason snitching is at an all-time high, this madness is at an all-time high is these guys don't know each other. They didn't grow up next door neighbors. They didn't play when they were 5 and 6 years old. They didn't shoot marbles with each other. They didn't
Mm.
walk to the store and people gave them shit because they were from this community together. Like before I was ever from the seven, I was from the seven. Whenever I went to my pop's house on the weekend that Thursday and we go, I catch the bus to my dad's house and we there, we walking to school Friday, we hanging out Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and all that. You from the seven. If you go to Mona Park, feel me, and you with, I'm with Lil J and I'm with Moto Restless Soul and I'm with Shiny Wani and I'm with 50, the homies. Oh, that's them little boys from off 117th Street. They from the seven. So
Yeah.
even if all of us wasn't quite courted in or activated as far as gangbanging goes, we were all from 117th Street. If I'm walking with Ron and I'm sorry, I'm just naming like these childhood names. Ron. If I'm walking with Dewan, if I'm walking with Russ, if I'm walking with Dave, Slowpoke, if I'm walking with those guys and we go into the Pink Store in the Imperial, Courts housing project, oh, that's them boys from off the seven. Culturally, you are from where you from. It has nothing to do with violence. It has nothing to do with crime. Culturally, everybody identifies your community. You're from that and you are that community. The gang part just becomes the military part of it, the
Mm.
infantry part of it, or the economic part of it. When you become from the gang, it's people that's from the seven, right, from 117th Street that are not a part of the gang, but they're culturally from 117th Street. And they are
Yeah.
proud of it and they let you know and you recognize it. But that don't mean they are courted in and activated in the military part of it. They're not a part of the earning part of it per se, but they are very much from the community. So it's very, and this is weird because this is weird coming from me because culturally I grew up in Compton and Watts pretty much as many days a week.
Mm.
So even though I grew up, at my mom's house, we grew up in the Richland Farms. I've never claimed Farm Dog. I've never claimed Acacia Block. But culturally, those are my friends. And shit, I would do things to you over my friends. But again, it's just a weird situation to me, man, where it's like, I think these things are happening in gangs now. Not just the pressure, not just don't steal my name, still. Don't steal my name. I am the Honorable Glasses Malone. You see this fro. You probably have to start calling me Brother G.
Man, from now, damn, why do
He
my
got
face look
fro
hella big?
envy.
My face look hella big, don't it?
Well, you're
My
closer to
name
the
is
camera.
Honorable Glasses Malone.
Let me see.
People,
There's two things real quick that stand out to me here. Not on the hair thing.
With this fro, you might have to start calling me Brother G.
Okay.
I look like Cassius Clay in 66. And who is that buff doing the back?
Probably
Stephon?
Chris.
I look like Stephon.
Oh,
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Stephon, what's happening, man? Was that Chris? I don't know who that was. I think it was Stephon because he was kind of bigger than Chris.
Yeah.
Chris is leaner than that. So long story short, I think that's what's wrong with gangbanging, with cripping, right? And this is, we're watching a situation play out publicly in front of the world. And all of the things that were my fear as gangbanging is evolving or devolving into where it is now, right?
Mm.
Every time you pull the slip, it's starting to show.
There's two things that stand out to me with this situation. One of them being like, this guy is like the spokesperson and the spokesmodel for that hood, you know?
And honestly, in today's society, not even for that hood, Mac is like the spokesmodel for Crippin, you know, as far as social media is concerned. Mac is a popular Crip, you know, as far as social media and that content is concerned. So he represents a lot more than just 5'5", which is why I can understand if the 5'5" discipline him, right? Because of embarrassment of what is going on, and they were not made aware of, you know, his past indiscretions. Because
For
now,
sure.
and then
That's what I think a lot of it is.
Then he's explaining it to society before they're being informed. I hope that's not the case. Are you ready, big bro? Oh, he's trying to come back. So those two things, right? Like how your homies is handling you and why they are handling you this way. I don't think it's no way Tic Tac allows 10, you know, my homie Boo. You met Boo once. I don't believe there's no way possible Boo would allow 10 homies, feel me, to deal with me in any true capacity.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, big bro?
He's going again.
I don't believe there's no way possible Pluck lets 10 homies deal with me on no matter what the issue is. Moon, Shady, Tone, feel me, man? There's no way I believe that. I don't believe there's no, and those are my older homies. I don't believe there's no way Lil J, you know, 50, the guys are my generation, or even like Ron or Slowpoke or Russ. I don't believe there's no way they let 10 homies handle me. I think
that situation
within the culture would know that's inappropriate.
10 and a significant like touching up like that by 10.
I don't care if it's not a significant touching up. 10 men, we're not friends, bro.
That sounds like we're asking you to leave.
Yeah, we're not friends.
It's like you're not part of this no more.
Yeah,
it's what it sounds like.
That's a lot, like 10 men.
I don't know how.
I got a homie named Big Two.
That's hard to survive.
I got a homie named Big Two. Big Two is on death row. Big Two is a real solid Crip, just a sick nigga. But that's the OG homie. I got love for cuz. But Big Two is 6'5", close to 6'6", right? 6'5", close to 6'6", 400 pounds. And I don't think they would allow 10 of us to get at him.
Yeah.
And that's my point. Pete, it's how are we friends if you allow 10 men to deal with me, period, for anything?
Yeah. I mean, that almost sounds like a prison gang hit.
10?
I mean, that's
the fuck do you need 10 homies? I don't think it would take 10 of us to DP Mike Tyson.
No, you only have 2 hands.
Feel me? At best, 5 of us would be able to DP Mike Tyson.
That's like when he says, I got the better of the first 3 or 4. What are you, like Jean-Claude Van Damme in a scripted movie?
And again,
like you.
And again, I think 5 or 6 of us could DP Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
So even
because you can only so many people can even be in front of you. Half of them are going to be hitting you in the back.
Exactly, in the back of the head. So
finally, our honey.
For 10 men to punish him, I don't think you don't like me. It's virtually impossible. And I verified it with some G homies from different communities. A couple G homies from cities, a couple G homies from the hood, niggas from Compton, some G niggas. And I was like, yeah, man, I asked my homie, I asked Pluck, I say, man, you let 10 niggas jump on me? Like, hell no. I'm like, and I thought about why. Welcome, my big brother, podcast extraordinaire, music exec extraordinaire, Guy from
Actor
the
extraordinaire, as discussed yesterday.
Big motherfucking steel.
What's going on, fellas? What's going on, fellas? It seems like y'all got a real profound conversation going on.
Yeah,
it's profound now that you're here.
Yeah, it just took a notch up. Jazz. Anyway, so I was explaining to Pete. What like I was getting him up to speed on who Baby Crip Mac was, Baby C Mac is. And I was explaining to him, you know, without all the extra details of what exactly went wrong, but his homies feeling like he did something incorrect, you know, in the line of representing 55th Street, and how they decided to, you know, discipline him. And I was explaining him that the reason I know is because Baby C Mac was explaining it right after the discipline. And he was saying it was 10 or more people. And I was explaining to Pete about Crippin, right, is there's two things that are starting to worry me today, right? The two things are, one, how you treat the people from your community. Mm-hmm. Like, why the fuck would it take 10 people to discipline one homie? And I was explaining to Pete, nigga, it wouldn't take 6 of us to discipline the heavyweight champion of the world.
No, actually, at some point, whenever you're in some kind of melee, the more people there are jumping on one person, it actually becomes
you just can't stop landing punches. Yeah, it's just it's a pummel, right? So
you got rows. I mean, you can't. There's not enough surface area access.
You at that point, you're just covering up. It ain't enough places to hit. Like 6 of us could DP Tyson Fury. 6 7th Street niggas for sure could discipline Tyson. We would beat the shit out of Tyson Fury. Now, I'm not saying the heavyweight champion wouldn't land a couple good shots when it started.
Well, see, the thing is, when you're talking about someone with that level of skill, though, G, he's going to take out a couple of people.
No, he's not. He's going to drop some people, and he's going to get himself hurt.
Yeah, it's going to be a couple of people getting knocked out.
Nobody's going to get knocked out. They're going to get dropped, right? They're going to get dropped. The problem is when the niggas behind you start hitting you, and then them niggas get up, because this is something we're used to. And they're going to attack you.
That's the thing about the gangbang world I never understood. That's why when I first came to California and people was talking about, hey, we want you to be from our neighborhood, and they was getting at me and stuff, I never could stand the idea of some man throwing himself go discipline me.
Well, it's not, nigga, you go to jail, a judge discipline you all the time.
Yeah, I'm not going to jail. I'm never going to do no crime, G. I'm never doing no type of crime.
You done already did crime.
You got away with it. Because all it takes is one time to get caught.
What you gonna tell the judge in the courtroom? Who do you think you is? Just because I'm American don't mean you can discipline me.
See, that's different because you're talking about the court of law. We have rules in society that
because white people made the rules.
No, not that, because they're just rules that we have as far as society. If we didn't have, we would have chaos if we didn't have those rules.
Same thing in the hood. We have rules. Without it, in the neighborhood, we have chaos. So that's why.
But you need discipline to enforce the rules. Otherwise, they're just platitudes.
So you're saying like what we do, or like what the community I'm from is different than the United States of America or California or any other place. It's the same exact thing.
Well, you know, gangbanging in itself, G, has rules of its own that no one on the outside will ever understand.
I don't think so. I think everybody understands every rule. I think a snitch at the highest level in America is called a motherfucking spy.
Well, you know, I know who Baby C Mac is. That's the kid that's been going around online and gaining some popularity online, right? Yeah,
really funny dude.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. You know, the thing is with this whole internet thing, I can see why gangbangers would have a problem with that.
I don't think they had a problem still. I don't think the problem was him being on the internet. I think certain real aspects. Now, this is the thing. I'm still ignorant because I haven't asked the homie for 5-5, like, oh, what exactly was the discipline for? All we saw was his past unfold. Next thing you know, he's telling us, man, I'm going to the hood to get disciplined. So I would like to believe the number one thing is they were not aware of his past transgressions.
What did he do? See, I'm not. I don't go online.
Sure, and it's weird because, okay, so I'll explain it to you from an American point of view to where you can understand it.
Okay.
Right? He was the citizen of another country.
Okay.
And he came over here, right, without declaring that he was a citizen from Russia, right? He came and joined this country
I got you. I got you.
without informing his friends that he was a citizen of another country or in another military.
So he was flip-flopping.
Well, they call it set hopping, right? And then also, right, that actual military kicked him out.
Oh, so he's not from that unit no more.
No. The first military he was a part of.
Okay, so he got put off set pretty much.
He got put off. So what it was he was from 6-0, and whatever happened, they decided that he was not qualified, and they put him off 6-0. They quartered him off. Multiple men, physically assaulted him and disbarred him from said community.
Wow.
And also he has a Facebook page, and on his Facebook page, he is, and this is old, right? This is roughly 9 years ago. He's pretty much claiming and posting and acting like he's from the rival gang of the gang he's from now. So there was maybe a post or two where he was saying, this is Hoover, he's a killer, neighborhood killer. I'm from Hoover. And then he was posting and supporting Gangster Crips, right? Which he's a 5'5" neighborhood Crip.
He seems like he kind of lost a little bit.
Yes, right? 10 years ago.
He seemed like he a little lost.
And that's the thing,
Perhaps geographically, literally.
I would love to have a conversation with him, G, because we got a couple things at play here, right?
Yeah.
And I've always thought this about him. I thought he was a funny guy. Thought he had a lot of, charisma. He's funny. But I think we have to look at some point, he may have some mental issues, bro, because that's not natural behavior.
Again, I don't want to talk about that because people are saying that, and he's vehemently declined that that's not what's going on. He's disagreeing.
Well, obviously it is. The thing is,
I can't say obviously.
I think it's emotional issues.
Yeah, he does. He wants to belong from somewhere. He wants to belong. Seems like so.
And again, get into and I don't want to get into the depth of why that is, right? No, I take that back. Yes, I do. But
that's easy money. I mean, when you.
But this is why, and this is the point I'm saying, right? So my first issue with the whole scenario is how many men it took to carry out his discipline, right?
He don't look like he's the most menacing guy in the world either.
No, but again, that's a whole nother. I don't know what menace look like, but
no, I'm saying menacing look like he's not like he's 6'5", but like me, I could be considered menacing. You could be considered menacing. Pete, not so menacing.
This is unfortunate.
And that's a mistake because white people historically have killed everybody.
See, listen, I didn't say just because a person looks menacing don't necessarily mean it's so. I've seen guys that look like they're the most meek and humble people on the planet, and they don't put in some mad work.
When we go way beyond menacing.
I think a white man always look menacing.
Yeah,
personally.
Well, Pete is the white man, so he can do a lot of things that we can't do. He don't have to get physically active.
Poison off at the meat market. Poison all the meat. When they want you dead, they gonna figure out. But that's not the point. Y'all throwing me off my point. Goddamn, still focused. So what I'm saying is, my issue is now I'm questioning his true friendship, right? Because that's all gangbanging is truly built off of your friends, right?
Well, that's not a friendship.
I just don't believe.
I'm gonna tell you this. I love you like a brother, bro. But if you sent 10 people to whoop my ass, we wouldn't be friends no more, dog. And I would probably be looking for you.
Yeah, I would hope so. Like I had to call Pluck. I said, Pluck, would you allow 10 homies? They're like, nah. The fuck you mean? Why would I take 10 homies? Right. So that's my first issue. Right. So now I'm questioning. I'm worried about how you and your community see each other. How Mac see the 5'5s and how the 5'5s see Mac.
Well, I can see him he's probably gonna get kicked off that set too.
And this is a concerning thought.
That sounds like that's what happened.
It sounds like he got quoted off. It sounds like he got quoted off.
But then even at the end of the video, they're saying he's still from the hood. Now, again, this is me taking C-Mac at his word, because it might not have been 10 people. It could have been 5 people. He was just getting spun in a circle.
Well, I'm pretty sure after that whooping, he's not telling no more lies.
Right? So, but he didn't tell lies before. That's the point. He came out. I wish he didn't say shit. Personally, I wish he would have just, because I would have looked at it and like, oh, they just don't like him and making this up. But once he came out and, as people say, kept it real, feel me? It just sounded crazy, which I understand at that point. They were like, his community was pressured to react, because now, so you have people explaining to the general public about this member of your community. Then you have the member of your community explaining to the general public. The community itself has been kept in the dark. So now they're like, what the fuck? So, maybe if they were aware, they would have put pressure like, yo, you can't be the mascot of said community if all of these things are on your rap sheet, on your thug and rap sheet. Like, maybe that's the conversation. But whatever it was rooted in the fact that they were embarrassed and shamed, right? So
rightfully so.
Rightfully so, right? So that's the first thing, right? Is how many men it took to carry out the discipline. That don't make me feel like we homies.
It probably was a lot of people that wanted to be involved in the act of passing, dishing out the discipline.
But and when I asked Pluck or I asked Boo about it, I asked my older homies, Boo, got the bike shop. Mm-hmm. He said, hell no. Why the fuck would we do that? And he was like, and it hit me that I've been knowing these brothers since I was a little kid. So again, our bond and connection is different. To why the fuck would they want to allow 10 people to assault me?
Well, you just answered your own question.
It's not discipline now, it's retribution.
Yeah, you gotta remember, G, you are really from your neighborhood and you've been over there since you were a little kid, right? Yeah. So they have a certain amount of love and admiration for you. Obviously, this guy, he's came from over here. Then he was over here. Then he's got making fake Facebook posts about, oh, I'm from here, So it's like he has some issues, and they probably want to whoop their ass.
Which brings me to my second point on this Crippin, right? Which is what I was saying. When you are foreign to the soil, it's a way they treat you. It's a way you're asked to do things at times that are unreasonable. And I don't quite understand. Like, I met 2 young dudes that lived in Antelope Valley. Right? I was meeting up with one of my partners from East Coast, just having a conversation with him. And he was telling me that these 2 people are from PJ Watts. These 2 young boys are from PJ Watts. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, damn, man, how long y'all been out here? When y'all moved from the city? They said, oh, no, we never lived in the city. I'm like, you never lived in Watts? They was like, no, we lived out here our whole life. And they explained to me how somebody they knew that's from Imperial Court Housing Projects moved out there, and they decided they wanted to join said community, right? But so they drove the 70 miles from Antelope Valley to the Imperial Courts Housing Projects, and allowed strangers to beat them up to be a part of the community. And it hit me. I was thinking to myself when I was laying in the bed the night after I met them, how do you go and attack someone else's community if you didn't grow up with, like, what's your true motivation to defend this community?
Can I say something real quick, G?
Please.
When I first came to California, it was 1988. And that's when gangbanging was like kind of full throttle. It was a lot different than it is now.
Yeah.
People were really gangbanging. You would see a guy walking down the street in Long Beach with a whole Pendleton suit on, with a whole, with the whole blue rag pretty much adorned around his whole body. So when I got people, that I was hanging out with, or may have been hustling with, and they start saying, we gonna bank you from the hood, we gonna do this, do that. I always thought of it like that. I am from 105 and Superior. I don't have no familiarity with y'all neighborhood. I don't have no love for y'all neighborhood. So how can I really go out and carry y'all mantle, so to speak? You feel what I'm saying? Wave y'all flag.
Even then, I understand it, right? Because now you live. It's like if you become a citizen. It's like if you lived in Mexico your whole life, but then you move to America and you become a citizen of said community, right? And then they like, oh man, you live here, you taking advantage of the benefits, right? you should be a part of the infantry in the military. Like, so, you can fight for these rights that we're protecting, the territory, the areas, the way of life we have, you have to fight.
The PJ thing's like a franchise to me. It's like if you get a job and you work at In-N-Out Burger in San Bernardino, they still send you to the original In-N-Out corporate headquarters for training.
Yeah, but then you still come back and you work at a Burger King in some other place. The problem is there is no.
You still work at In-N-Out. You're just at In-N-Out, not in.
But you still
whatever the 605 and the 10.
Listen, I'll give you a perfect comparison of that. So in Watts, right, there's Front Street Watts. My boy Bang Loose is from Front Street Watts. I know a lot of niggas from Front Street, solid niggas from Front Street, right? Front Street Watts Crip. In Pacoima, there's an area called Valley Fronts, right? The Valley Front Street Crips in Pacoima, in the Valley.
Well, the same as like Pasadena, Denver lanes, right? Same.
That's double lanes. I don't know if they're quite the same. I think they are, but that's different. But here's another one. So just like you have the front streets in the Valley, you have the front streets in Watts, right? So you could come to the city and actually, get trained, and you take your shit back to the Valley, or you could just be in the Valley and be a Front Street, and it's the connection. They have the same thing with the gang that's based out of Inglewood, right? Or I don't know if they would consider that South Central. Watergate Crips, right? In Santa Ana, they have Watergate Crips, feel me? And they are connected. The problem with comparing the franchise to this is, in Antelope Valley, there is no there's no Imperial Courts housing projects. There is no PJ Crip neighborhood to work at the franchise. So it's like you just went to some burger place and got trained and just
so they're just stragglers. It's not like, say, like the guy from PJ's moved to this location and now he like took over these blocks and they're just okay.
No, he lives in Antelope Valley.
I thought you could point to an area in AV that's like, no, they're between 3rd and 4th Street.
He didn't colonize some foreign place.
I got you.
They just liked his get down and was like, okay, we want to
be your friend.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit was weird. And again, I think those things happen when you are foreign to the soil. Like you could have been he could have been from that area from, for 5 or 6 years, maybe 7 years. The problem is there is no true vested interest in your existence, right? Because my homies know my dad. They knew my mom, rest her soul. They knew my older brothers. They know my stepmother. They knew my family. They've been knowing me since I was a kid. So it's even now, like if Watts Boy, right, who was my little homie, if he comes to me, he's like, man, I need a gun. When he first came to me talking about needing a pistol, I'm thinking like, nigga, I know your daddy and your uncle. They raised me. And it's funny because I remember going to his uncle to get a gun, and his uncle told me, who was my big homie Pluck, said, you better go steal your first gun like I stole mine. So I told my homie, I said, look, nigga, here's $100. A gun costs $200. You need another $100 and go buy your own fucking gun. Because I'm thinking literally, I know this nigga's mama.
Yeah, and that's almost the equivalent.
With this fucking gun. You go do something with this fucking gun.
It's almost like you having blood on your hands.
Yeah, now your mom is sad. Now your daddy is sad. Now your uncle's sad. And don't get me wrong, I had to think like, well, damn, what if he don't have the gun and he need it and he die? Well, you got to make a choice. So once you sign up for this shit, you also got to be willing to be accountable and find your own shit. Then none of my older homies give me no damn gun until they realized I was using guns.
Well, G, the thing is this, right?
Yeah.
A gang seems to me, I've been in California long enough to where I can speak on certain stuff I don't speak on because I'm not a gang member. You've been in
California longer than you've been in Ohio.
Yeah, for real. So it's like, it's some stuff I don't speak on about the actual infrastructure of gangs because that's not my place. I stay in pocket, right? The thing is with gangs always seem to me was like family. Like, you know, me coming out here, I was touched down to Long Beach first, so I was in a city full of Crips, but I knew Bloods too because we had Bloods that played on the team I was on, right? So
Mhm.
the thing was this: all the Long Beach insane guys seemed like they were family. They seemed like they was family with a lot of the 20 guys. They went to the same elementary schools together. They, you know,
And in
went to the
that
same high
particular
schools, and a
and
lot
in
of
that
times they were
particular
family.
community, and in that particular community, them niggas is all related.
Yeah, exactly. So the biggest thing I see with this, man, is that it's family. And I'm gonna tell you this: I have seen people get disciplined before, but never to the point to where it was like 20 people. I've seen maybe 2, maximum 3 people discipline somebody, and it was always for a real short period of time. And afterwards, there was a 40 and a blunt passed around.
Exactly. And that's what killed me. He's leaving after it in this car. And I'm like, he's like, you know, this still 5-5. And I'm like, yeah, man, if 10 or 11 of your homies did you like that, and if of your other homies let these 10 or 11 men do you like that, how do you still feel proud like that's you're part of the community?
And that's kind of a negative incentive. Like I don't want to say it's irresponsible by the guys from 5-5, but it's like if that's your routine, you're creating people you're giving people a reason to have resentment of other people within your own gang, and that can only lead to bad things.